Hey there, everyone! Welcome to first episode of Pervader.
Shin.
Thank you. Well, I don't know anything about this game other than the MC looks hot, I guess. So let's start. Okay, so what's our name, guys?
Not irrelevant.
I'm horny.
Not your name.
No.
Oh hell yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry if the creator's watching. I'm sorry for this video. It's just what it is. A ray of light fell upon my face, knocking upon my eyelids to invite a new day. I cringe and shift away from the light. Is it time to wake up already?
You should stop chewing on the lemon.
Everything is fairly quiet. No ruffling sounds, no commotion. Maybe no one else has woken up yet. Then I can lay for a while longer. Ah, yes. If I'm needed, Mother will barge in and wake me. And likely talk my ear off for oversleeping. Or maybe Father will knock at the window and give me the first task of the day. Sometimes my brothers would conspire against me and find new rude ways to awaken me. I'm fine with that, if I can just stay like this for a little while longer. Reality was setting in. I sighed and turned to sink my face in the rags of my makeshift pillow. Neither mother, nor father, nor brother could wake me, for I was in a foreign land, far, far away from home. A ship had taken me northeast across the sea to this country of Orothane, and to this town of Chariot. Oh.
Chie.
No, the... Ryuji, yes.
Both are Chie.
Presently, I sat up and looked around me, the shack. A small rickety door stood ajar at the other end. It was gently swaying on its falling hinges. The motion played with the sun's rays, creating an annoying ambience through the narrowing and widening shaft of light. The widening shaft, how ominous.
It's devoid my sex dungeon.
It is a tiny place, about a wagon's length and breadth. The loose assembly of weathered planks that made up the walls didn't seem to offer much shelter, but it worked well enough. Whoever made it their home before had thought to fit traps around the outside. Tarps, not traps. That would be pretty weird if you saw some traps around the outside. It was a small mercy I had to appreciate the one time it rained, keeping it cozy and fairly dry. Other shacks weren't as fortunate. I wanted to find better lodging by the end of summer and better work to pay for it. The thought was a bit troubling. Back home, we did not experience harsh cold seasons. This region was much closer to the northern lands of Everwinter, and they say Arthing has dark and windy autumns. It was an open question whether this shanty could keep the wind at bay. Maybe I should talk to him about fitting some improvements. Small as it may be, two of us were hosted in here. My shackmate across from me, Jonah, was now staring in his bunk. The space is so narrow I could reach out and touch him from where I lay.
Ovo.
Why do we need to know all this? What the fuck?
You're so close, I can...
Because it's necessary to the plot.
He turned over to face me, his eyes narrowly opened.
Morning, lad.
Wow.
I'm so sorry, I apologize.
Good morning, Jonah.
His voice was hoarse with age and morning grogginess. He smacked his old lips a couple of times.
Why are you staring?
Oh, sorry.
Sleep still bothering you?
Not as much anymore. I've gotten used to it.
Jonah turned over to stretch on his back, yawning. Although he was getting on in age, he was still springy and tough. What the fuck are you doing on him to know that he's springy? Like,
Springy and tough.
You just squeeze.
You don't want to know, lad. You don't want to.
A plain, kindly soul, he works at the docks and spends most of his waking moments there to save up enough money for a trip. His daughter lives in a town far out east, and she's waiting for him to visit. Once he leaves, he won't be coming back. Said he would stay with her. 4 years ago, he was as much a stranger to this place as I was when I arrived. He saw that I was a stranger too. I think that's why he started looking after me.
We're expecting a big ship today. One of those syndicate charters. I haven't seen them in a while.
He rolled out of his bed and went to put on his moccasins.
Oh.
Wow. He looks
He's cute.
Fluffy.
He's very fluffy. He has that mustache.
Like, he might be working there through midnight, so don't wait up for me.
While he was getting ready for the day, I had something else I needed to attend to. My horniness. I leaned in and reached for the narrow space between the bed and wall to pull out the leather pouch. Leather? See,
That's hiding the dildo.
Inside of it was the notebook, and I would read through it again. Jonah looked at me curiously.
You've been doing that every morning since you started working.
I need to do a little every day.
I'm horny.
A little what? Fanfictioning?
He leaned in gently to pick at the pages of the notebook. He had seen me with it plenty of times, but he never asked me about it before.
I'm trying to get better at reading and writing.
Oh.
He went wide-eyed and nodded in understanding.
I thought you went to school.
I did, for a little while. Alan asked me to get better, though.
This music is, I think they should have left it on the menu, not that, like, it should.
It is a main menu music, yeah.
Yeah.
You're working with books now. Is that what that boss fellow of yours been telling you?
He hasn't said exactly. I think he wants me to help out with the paperwork.
I see. I know you're a smart fella. I'm horny. I told you. I can see you. You Shin.
I'm horny. I can see it working. This is great.
God knows I'd be doing that if I could. He must be paying you well.
Not really. It's okay. If he didn't ask me to work for him when he did, I probably would have ended up at the docks with you. Only reason I didn't is because there weren't any work offers. Now though.
Jonah shook his head in defiance.
Laddie, don't throw it away just yet. It ain't often that a farmer's boy like yourself gets to work for a fancy man like that. Even if it ain't great now, maybe you'll learn something useful. Something that could help you out in the future. I can tell you there's nothing great about being a dog worker. You slave an entire life away and barely get enough coin to settle down by the time your bones turn brittle. Barely enough time and money to see the ones you love. Hang on tight to that job, you hear? I don't know if it's a good place to work, but I know it ain't this barrel's bottom. So if you have to get better at reading, you do that. Keep at it. I wish I could help ye, but was never much for reading either. I thought I was being spooked. All I can do is let ye practice in peace.
Okay, thanks, Jonah.
He left, pushing the door open and letting it swing back and forth as he walked away. My attention shifts back to the notebook. I would look through it whenever I could. There was pages and pages of various notes, copied text, exercises, and rhymes. Some of my scribbled drawings were in it as well. Reading and writing were difficult. Father didn't earn enough to put us through more than a few years of school. My brothers and I were not expected to lead bookish lives. We were simple folk. I did, however, pick up a good manner of speaking from days of listening to preachers in the market square. Some of them had funny ways of expressing themselves. Occasional inflections stuck to my mind, and I would remember phrases.
Yes.
What the is wrong with me?
You add words.
A virtual smile keeps through between words and deeds. Many of those sayings had been scrawled down already. Whenever I would remember one, it would be added with the others. Seeing the words on paper and hearing them recounted in my mind helped to strengthen my reading ability. A couple of pages should be enough. The writing exercises would come later when I would be at the desk. After a few minutes I was confident in my review and put the notebook back in its leather. I shuffled out of the bed and quickly put my salt-stained boots. The leather strap of the bag was beginning to wear out, but I slung it over my shoulder just the same. Alan will attempt to inspect my notes, so I had to carry the bag with me. The worker camp was just beginning to stir. Men of different ages and sizes would soon be roaming about, attending their morning needs.
Morning needs, eh?
Okay, so this time it's not me,
I
okay?
can't help.
Oh, you're yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. A man coughed as he clanked a spoon against the kettle. The one at the hearth behind the camp office. The one at the hearth behind the camp office. The one at the hearth behind the
Jesus Christ! Are you okay?
Future Shin, what's the count right now for how many times you've f***ed up in English?
Considering how this story's going so far, the main character is trying to learn to read and write. This is a good story for Shin so he can read.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for the f***ing low-key bullying right now. A man coughed as he clanked a spoon against the kettle. The one at the hearth behind the camp office. My god, I did it.
You did it.
Outside the gate, a wagon was being drawn. Its wheels snapping its wheels snapping twigs and crushing leaves that had started to litter the ground. Beyond the wagon came the nagging call of a housewife searching for her husband or son. Waking ahead, like you just keep waking up. As I had a slight cracking noise coming from nearby. It was a campfire between a pair of shacks along the path. A bell would ring later on to make sure no one overslept. Half of us would be off before we could even hear it. I passed a few of the shacks and made my way to the scuttlebutt.
What the hell is a
Scuttlebutt.
There would always be enough water in it for everyone's morning use. One person would be on duty to fill up this That your ringtone? One person would be on duty to fill up the scuttlebutt every morning and afternoon. Wasting water would earn you scowls. I grabbed one of the empty buckets and filled it about halfway, then placed it on the counter to the side. With cupped hands, I learned to grab a drink. The water is too warm to be pleasant, but it deals with the thirst. Now to clean up a little. My palms sank and resurfaced, splashing my face to wash away the grimes of sleep. I set aside my leather bag on the counter, pulled off my shirt, and draped it over the bag. On the counter lays, I think, several bars of barlash, Barillash soap. Some of them were more or less used up. I grabbed one of the smaller ones, damped it, and started working it over my body. Even though the days and nights are not as hot as those back home, I still sweat a lot.
Ooh, yummy.
Father would... Wow, nasty. Father would always say that to make yourself proper, you had to wash your face, your armpits, and your nether region.
You have to go to the nether because it's Minecraft.
That one I decided not to honor right now. The soap had a fine, creamy texture to it and impressed a lightly sharp, minty odor. Why do we need the explanation of the soap? Like, I'm sorry to mock the writing or whatever, but like, why do we need to know the feeling of the soap? It washes away easily, yet the freshness sticks to you long into the evening. What a great soap.
Wow, you sound so dramatic.
Just because it's written very dramatically.
It is. It is. Back when we lived on the farm, we used to mix our own soap. Just like this. All the neighboring families did the same. In this town, soap makers have a handle on that. Balsamics were much more fragrant, but very expensive. You could always tell the weight of someone's purse by their smell. I flexed my arm and stretched, checking my body as I was washing up.
Oh.
Oh.
Yes.
That's cool. That is
indeed.
Nice.
Okay.
That's a bold.
Everybody on YouTube, meet your new husbando.
Screen cap!
He's cool. I like him.
Huge balls you can see here.
There's no way he walks properly with that.
Cougars like myself were exotic around these parts. There were plenty of other felines in town, but none like me. I felt confident in my body. I wish I had someone to share it with.
Oh, well, I'm horny.
Alright, so this is the first, well, for us 30 minutes, but first, 10 minutes of normal gameplay, and since coming here, I had met a man who would take me up on that. Working and looking for work had kept me busy. Now that things are settling down, maybe I should take a gander. There's a brothel in town, and I hear there are working men. Part of the reason why I wanted to leave home was because of my sexual inclinations. Yeah, of course, we chose such a good name for him. Oh my god, I'm so proud of this.
Yeah, I'm horny.
Many kingdoms had laws against betting on the man, but not here. Orthain as a country cared little about things like that. To these people, profit is paramount. The lords rise and fall based on their ability to stimulate the flow of coin, and brothels run like rivers. Satisfied with my grooming, I shook off the water from my fur and put my shirt back on, took my bag and headed for the exit. Stepping outside the gate, I saw the notice board where people would occasionally leave work offers. Well, once I would study it obsessively, now I only glance it over out of habit. This way leads straight into the market, which used to be my hunting ground. I arrived in this town 5 months ago. Half of the money I saved up had gone into the strip. The other half I lost foolishly by staying at the inn. Why couldn't someone have told me about this work camp sooner? Although my accent wasn't thick, it was obvious to everyone that I was not from the region. The few businesses that operated here would rather hire locals than someone like me. Still, I could usually find an errand or two, enough to earn my bread. Over time, I had become more familiar with the townspeople and felt like I was starting to be accepted. The services in the market are a fairly tight-knit community. Most of them have tiny stalls, selling whatever they grow or make themselves. Ironworks, herbs, fruits and vegetables, things of straw and hemp. Liquor was very popular. None of these goods came from the ships of this town port. I'd hoped I would find work at the bakery, but alas, it was an impenetrable family business, just like the one I left behind. Although there was much traffic at sea, the cargoes coming in and out were destined for other places in and out of the region. It was a hub of traffic, not the biggest town, but it was growing. As I walked further along, I could spot one of the wharfs at the dock, where a boat was either just mooring or departing. I'd often try to enlist with one of their ships. Although these crews had men from all around the world, and thus wouldn't care about where your accent placed you, there I had even less of a chance. There were men with sea experience who would stock the gangways of opportunities, men much more valuable than me in that regard. It was no secret that salty dogs were 10 times more
Yeah.
This has a weird connotation in my mind right now. Salty dogs were 10 times more valuable than any lad still wet behind the ears. If I had only come here as a seaman...
No, my god, you're such a child.
That didn't matter anymore. Now I have a reliable job. I crossed through the market saying good morning to the kind people. It was still fairly early, so most hadn't even set up their stalls yet. The ironmonger was always the first one to open up. His services were sought after by seamen coming in to ask for repairs or spare parts, partially because he was a carpenter also. Wow, hot. He was a hard man and I didn't know him well, but he always nodded hello my way when I would see him at the earliest hour. Others were loading up their crates with produce. Most were too busy to even notice my passing. Most were too busy with reading these f***ing explanations. Nothing has happened yet. It's 42 minutes of reading. Finally, I came upon the antique shop. I approached the door and glanced through the frosted glass before entering. Stepping aside, my lungs and nose were impressed with an odd, old and pleasant quality to the air. It carried the sensation of history in bottle. It would always hit me whenever I entered, but fade away as I got accustomed to it. Sometimes there would be burning incense at the entrance to welcome customers, but today lacked any fancy. It meant Alan was expecting a slow day, or he just hadn't gotten around to it yet. Bookshelves, counters, cases, and vitrines with all sorts of junks and treasures are arranged along the walls and in counter islands. I walked over to the desk across the room. My ears pick up shuffling sounds beyond it. Leaning over the desk, I spot Alan in the closet office to the side. He's looking through some papers and hasn't noticed me yet. I cleared my throat to get his attention. Oh shit, okay. Here we go again. I am horny.
Yay.
Oh, I'm horny.
There we go, that's the stuff one.
Good morning, Alan.
Good morning.
Alan was very horny.
No, that's not what it says.
Alan was a very gentle person most of the time. If I had to guess, I'd place him under my father's age. Ah, hot.
Ugh.
His tenor of speech and mannerisms tell of a bookish man, yet he carries himself with neighborly quantities.
No, quaintness.
Quaintness.
Oh, who wrote this?
Someone who likes the word
It's
quaintness.
out of
1 month ago, he approached me and asked if I wanted to work for him. Okay, does he have a big bulge though?
Yes.
Pretty nice.
I was
Okay.
literally just thinking that.
There was no need to consider the offer. Immediately, I accepted. Before then, a couple of people in the market had hired me to deliver some goods across the town, and I visited Alan twice. Everything was delivered on time, and he always seemed pleased. Was that enough to convince him I'm worth hiring? No, it was the bulge. It was the bulge. It was the bulge. At the time, I didn't even know what he was about. I have overheard people gossiping about the antique shop in Allen, but I didn't pay much attention. Yeah, he's gay. He's gay. At the time, I assumed it wasn't a place I could find work. When he asked me, I was caught off guard. As it turns out, the job isn't anything special, at least as far as I'm concerned. You just take off your clothes and spread your cheeks. Just some housekeeping, dusting off old things, hauling stuff, and helping out any way I can. Simple tasks, and a decent opportunity for me. He says he wants me to do more work though, things that have more to do with the business. That's why I've been trying to improve my reading and writing. I'm eager to learn more from him. He is willing to teach. Alan himself is very smart and knowledgeable to understand all of these old things. He deals with the clients, although there aren't many of them. Still, don't quite understand why people seek out these kinds of antiques. He walked out of the enclosed space with the papers in hand and stood by the desk.
You came in early. Did you sleep well?
Well, enough. I've been sleeping better lately.
Oh? You had troubled nights before?
Yeah, sleeping was difficult when I first arrived. A different land, different bed. Even the air tastes different. I think I've gotten used to it now.
That's good. I've been here for a few years now myself. It was hard on me too. The air here, it's much heavier and dirtier. Oh, how I miss the mountain breeze up north, the crisp morning chill, the flightless sky, and softness of clouds. Every day felt like a wonder. Now every day I kick myself for leaving. What about you? Which wind blew you into my shop?
I'm not sure.
He chuckles lightly.
I'm asking where you're from. I'm horny.
Oh, Ardani.
He leans back and looks at me with a hint of pleased astonishment. What? Did he never ask you this before? Wow.
Really? I had met a couple of Ardanes before, and their accents were much thicker.
The place I'm from is closer to the mainland coast, and we have a lot of foreigners. I've never really thought about it, but I guess that would make us sound more like mainlanders. You've probably met Ardanes from deeper in the country. Their dialects are much more distinct. Did they tell you which region they were from?
I don't quite remember. It was a long time ago. You're the first person from Ardani I've met in years.
Huh, I would have thought there would be many Ardanes traveling this way.
Perhaps many have, just not into the shop. My concern is usually limited to this humble establishment. I don't often make it my business to check the comings and goings of people around these parts.
Back home I heard a lot of stories about people leaving the country for the mainland, but I haven't met any other Ardanes here either.
Well, it's not a place I would settle down willingly, but I would love to visit Ardani someday. I've heard the countryside is beautiful, and I know the wine is exquisite.
You like Ardane wine?
Of course. I have a couple of Sarai's half bottles stored away for special occasions. Vintage 88.
This sounds like their first ever conversation, though I don't buy it. Alan leans in and cups a hand beside his mouth, speaking in a playfully covert manner.
Between you and me, those 2 bottles are worth more to me than anything else in here.
He smiles and chuckles lightly while straightening out his papers.
Alright. Well, we have a lot of work to do today. I'll need you to stay overnight.
How come?
Alan's expression turns stoic as he leans back.
We're receiving a large shipment later today, coming in by boat. I received a delivery notice shortly before you came in.
A shipment? Who from?
The Silver and Watch.
I sense a foreboding hint in Alan's voice, but also excitement. This shipment is important. The Silver and Watch, they are the soldiers of the Inquisition, those who set themselves as defenders of the innocent against the Pervaders and their magic. Under their vigil, no unlawful use of magic would be tolerated. They must be good at their jobs, because I have never seen any magic. I'd never known a Pervader either. They were said to be dangerous and in hiding. You would hear tales of glorious battles between watchmen and Pervaders, yet it all feels so foreign to me, like a story from a distant place and time. Inquisitors would often come and preach in the town square about the evil of Pervaders, of twisted magic that killed and burned innocents. Those discourses always seemed so heated, warning people of awful dangers nobody knew had ever come face to face with anything of the sorts. At first it made me fearful, but they would drone on and on for so long and so often that I had begun to tune it out. What is the Silvering Watch sending to Alan? Why do they need his help? Alan lowers his head and smiles to himself. He rubs the desk idly and clears his throat.
So, how goes your reading and writing?
Good. Well, better, I should say.
I ask because I'm going to need your help cataloging the shipment.
Oh.
Don't worry yourself. We'll be working together. All you have to do is write down what I tell you while I go through the items. The notes are for my own archives. It doesn't have to be done perfectly. I'll review everything afterwards, but I'd appreciate it if you were careful.
Okay, you can count on me.
Alan is staring up at me, studying me.
Do you know why I hired you? I'm horny.
That should be a question mark.
He asked the question softly, but I'm unsure if he meant as a reminder or genuine inquiry. No, I hired you. I'm horny.
Now we know what he meant when he needed a helping hand.
Alan has always been reasonable and kind, so I discard any apprehension.
You needed someone to help with housekeeping?
Well, yes, of course. Housekeeping is needed too. More importantly, I judge that you have what I need in an assistant.
A big bulge.
You're diligent. That's what everyone in town says, and it's true as far as I've seen. And while you have been with me, I have also learned that you are cautious and curious.
Just clean and move things.
Because cleaning and moving need to be done, among other things. A scholar cannot study without first dusting off his tomes. More interesting avenues will soon be open to you, if you're ready for them.
What do you mean?
He looks down and away for a moment, his eyes considering the moment carefully, then he turns towards me and carries his word with probing eyes.
You've been with me for a month now. What do you think? Do you like working here?
It's been good. I'm very thankful.
What about your stipend? I don't pay you as much as a dock worker.
Their jobs, they strain themselves more.
He gave a conciliatory nod.
You're young. You look strong enough. You could have worked at the docks instead, earned better coin. Why didn't you?
I couldn't find work with them.
About a week ago, I started working for Alan. There was a call for more dock hands posted on the worker camp, a notice board. I remember thinking it over if I should quit working for him and do that instead. I'd have Jonah there with me too. But Jonah said I shouldn't quit yet. He'd probably be mad with me if I did. Was their notice still there? I hadn't paid it any attention.
If you had the opportunity, would you go work at the docks instead?
This is what he was getting at. Is he testing my loyalty? My honesty? Is there some hidden purpose to this? Spurred on by the news of shipment? Does he want to let me go? No, he said he needs my help with the shipment. Then what do I really want? I guess I just want to find my place in the world. That's why I left home. Left mother and father and little brother behind. My big brothers before me had also departed, off to different corners of the country. The moment was crystallized in my mind when I fell into this adventurous mood. It was all because of a water globe. My father told me the story of how one day a man came to our bakery to purchase cake bread while I was away doing chores. The man tasted it and said it was very delicious. He enjoyed it so much that he finished eating it then and there. By the end, he was licking his fingers. Father was praised by the man, who said it was the best cake bread he had ever eaten. He liked it so much that he wanted to do more than pay. To show his appreciation, he gifted Father a water globe. Father gave the thing to me, and I was completely mesmerized by it. Never would I have thought that such baubles could captivate me. But once I held it in my hands, I was in another world. It was so pretty. The
so beautiful.
encapsulated scene was of a boat near a coast, and that coast set a pyramid covered in glittering gold. I'll play with it all the time, swaying it and flipping it to make the little flakes inside dance. At night, I would place it on the shelf next to my bed. The thing carried me into sleep, and I would drift off, wishing I would wake up in the world of that globe. That tiny little thing inspired so much wonder, so many powerful emotions within me. Unfortunately, the globe didn't survive long. My little brother played with it. A week after Father gave it to me, slip and fell, smashing it against the ground and broke into tiny, unsalvageable pieces. It was the most upsetting thing I've ever happened to me up until then.
Jesus.
Despite that mishap, the inspiration I had gained from it stuck with me and grew stronger. It made me bold.
What is happening? You're
So
doing
bold,
well.
it spurred me to travel overseas. Of course, when I got here, my dreams were somewhat shattered. Orthain is a greater place, and people don't seem quite as happy. Reality hit me like a brick. A man has to earn coin to feed himself, and I quickly put away all those adventurous dreams. Despite all that, things aren't going too terribly. Working for Alan seems pretty interesting. There may be a future here. I've certainly seen lots of things around the shop that could be called treasures. Maybe this is the glitter that I was so desperate to find. It would be a disappointment to my younger self, but I am not so young anymore. Life is never going to be that wondrous. Holding on to a childish dream like that seems foolish and wasteful. My thoughts went to my little brother. Would he have silly dreams like mine? Would he end up far away from home like all of us? My heart pulls back to our home, back in Ardeny. I want to see my brother and warn him not to be like me. Warn him away from risky decisions like those which had almost trapped me. Then I recalled Father. I felt his presence, like he was watching over me from across the sea. How worried would he be? How worried would Mother and little brother be? They must know I'm fine. I want to see them again, but now it's not the time. Those childish dreams may never come to fruition, but I have taken on a new dream. That of making something of myself out here. My future is ahead of me. Is it with Alan? Is it at the docks? Is it with one of the ships? The only thing I know for sure is that it's not waiting for me back home. Oh. My senses returned to me, and I realized that Alan is staring at me. I must have been lost in thought for a bit too long. Would I walk at the docks instead? I still don't have a good answer for him.
Sorry,
It's alright. I am sorry if I made you worry. Let me explain. You're a bright young man, and the entire world is open to you. For you, these are the years which will define the rest of your life. I can see it in your eyes that you understand. It is good to be concerned for your future. Perhaps you've had it tough lately. Sometimes you have to push through hardships until the good opportunities show up. This job is one of those good opportunities, and I want to convince you of that. Yet, at the same time, I'm not sure where your heart is. Here's the deal. I'd like you to become my assistant, not just a handyman. That means you will have to help me with research. I've urged you to improve your reading and writing because moving forwards, you will need to do a lot of studying. Do not worry. There's time. I am patient and will help you.
studying what?
Ancient lore. Have you ever heard of Nigantis?
I shook my head.
It's a lost civilization from 1,000 years ago, rooted in the north. In the past few decades, scholars have taken a keen interest in their relics. There are many ruins being discovered and rediscovered these past few decades. These places are rich in old treasures, things that have special, elusive qualities to them. My job is that of the unraveler, who studies these objects and brings out their secrets.
Okay, but I don't quite understand. Secrets? It sounds very vague.
Yes, I am being vague, aren't I?
Alan sighs and glances away for a moment.
Alright. Tell me. I'm horny. So far, does the job I've described sound appealing to you?
I don't know. Maybe? Working at a bakery or the docks is fine to earn some coin, but there must be more I can do, not just manual labor. This ancient world business sounds interesting, but I still don't understand. Alan, is there something you're not telling me? I want to say yes.
Alan shifts in his seat uncomfortably. The pause lingers a bit too long, making me unsure if I should say anything.
Now, I have one more important thing to tell you. This is why I've been asking you to consider. It's wonderful that I've managed to tempt you.
Oh,
Oh gosh.
it's happening. This is happening.
Oh god.
Oh, it is happening. It is happening.
Yet, there are implications to this line of work which may not sit well with you. There is more to what I do here than just putting a price on old things.
What is it?
Alan sternly stares at me like I'd never seen him do. He leans in to rest his elbows on the desk and steeples his hands.
I'm horny.
I love it. We're gonna continue this on a later date, so stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, and bye guys. I'm fucking horny, I swear to God.